Alex Stein, is that enough?
You know, when I came into the league, people watch sports for three basic reasons: for rivalries, for games of consequence, and for household names, if you know the players. And we didn't have a lot of household names, even though we had amazing players back then and have amazing players beyond Caitlin and Angel.
All athletes transgender athletes be able to play.
Oh, I mean, that ranks high on the list of things that I'll be fighting for and speaking up against. You know, everyone deserves the right to play.
The WNBA just got smacked with a bombshell nobody saw coming, and the internet is going wild. Stephen A. Smith hopped on air and started hinting at Brittney Griner's so-called Russia DNA test. And let's just say the league's commissioner is fuming. This isn't me tossing out random conspiracies. This is me breaking down exactly what was said, how fans are reacting, and why this has turned into one of the nastiest PR storms the WNBA has faced in years. And here's the kicker. Griner's name has already been stamped all over global headlines because of her arrest and dramatic release from Russia. But this fresh twist is dragging the league into a whole new mess.
I do think it's important to understand that there are millions of Americans who may not say anything, but do share his position. You were in the United States. You didn't want to stand for the national anthem. You wanted to protest some of the things that were going on in this country, which is obviously and totally your right. The flip side, however, is that there are an abundance of people, including many, because I know a few in the military who feel this way.
The commissioner's refusal to speak up only fueled the frenzy, making people even hungrier for answers. The real question isn't just, is this DNA story real? It's how much more controversy can the WNBA take before sponsors, fans, and even players start demanding some real explanations. Here's how it all went left. Stephen A. Smith, yes, that's Stephen A., the biggest, loudest mouth at ESPN, decided to casually drop Brittney Griner's name into a segment about truth in sports. Out of nowhere, he brings up her time in Russia and drops a heavy suggestion that some DNA test over there might have revealed things the public never got told. And just like that, the entire vibe in the studio flipped. This wasn't some random Twitter troll fishing for clicks, and it wasn't just a Reddit rumor floating around. This was Stephen A. Smith, with millions watching live, tossing that bomb on mainstream TV. And the way he played it?
So rivalries are generally good for sports. In women's sports, sometimes it's complicated by the social media vitriol, which we denounce. It's terrible what some of these players have to endure. And so the hatred, the vitriol, the misogyny, the homophobia, the racism, there's no place for it in sport. And we like to be known in sport as a big uniter. So that's the negative part of that. But the positive certainly has been that people are watching. I mean, we brought tens of millions of new people into our sport last year.
He didn't confirm it, but he definitely didn't shut it down either. He dangled it like bait, and within minutes, the clips were everywhere. TikTok, X, you name it. People were losing it, screaming, "Did he really just say that on air?" That's the league's worst case nightmare. Because once someone like Stephen A. Smith breathes life into a rumor, especially one that's already been debunked, it suddenly feels brand new again. And that's where things get messy, because the second Stephen A. dropped that little grenade, all eyes immediately turned to one person, WNBA Commissioner Cathy Engelbert. Now, if you don't know, Cathy isn't just a figurehead. She's the very first commissioner the league has ever had.
Have her back now. This is her 8th game back as A'ja Wilson cleans it up inside. First points to the Aces.
There's been a couple of checks back and forth between Morrow and Smith out here.
Oh, what a pass. Wilson baseline fader, pretty. Tina Charles doing all she could. Help D just coming over as well, but A'ja Wilson, another.
The one who's been hustling hard for expansion, big-time sponsors, and a total glow-up for the WNBA. She's the business boss making sure the league finally gets taken seriously on a global stage. But here's the problem. Her silence on this whole Griner situation is deafening. Not one statement, not even a throwaway line like, "We're aware of the chatter." Nothing. And when the commissioner stays quiet during a storm like this, it doesn't cool things down. It makes people believe there's something being hidden. Fans are already saying her silence feels like straight-up panic mode. Because if the league's top boss can't crush a rumor that's been debunked over and over, what does that say about the WNBA's image right now? And here's the crazy part. The WNBA is supposed to be in the middle of its biggest moment ever. Ratings jumped more than 170% last year. The Golden State Valkyrie became the first new franchise since 2008. And suddenly, people weren't dragging the league for low attendance anymore. They were hyped about sold-out arenas, viral highlights, and major cash coming in. Sponsors were lining up. Networks were fighting for coverage. And for the first time ever, the hype felt real. But instead of the headlines being about the Valkyrie's historic debut, or Aja Wilson chasing her third MVP trophy, what's trending online right now? Brittney Griner's voice, her body, and some recycled conspiracy about a Russian DNA test with zero proof to back it up. It's almost like the league's biggest victory just got hijacked by its biggest scandal. And this is where the internet really took the ball and sprinted with it. Right when the WNBA was celebrating its huge opening week, a random courtside clip of Brittney Griner exploded on TikTok and X. Nothing crazy was even happening. She was just chatting it up with somebody courtside. But the audio picked up how deep her voice is, and suddenly, the video became the center of a firestorm. Now, people who followed Brittney for years already know this isn't new. That's always been her voice, and she's openly talked about it since she was a teenager. But to casual viewers who don't really keep up with her, it was shocking, and they couldn't stop commenting. The clip racked up millions of views in hours, with people dropping wild takes like, "Yeah, that's a dude." He gets to dunk on women all day and then still share a locker room with them. This has to stop. Others doubled down with stuff like, "That's a dude, never once thought otherwise." Trolls were spinning it as so-called proof for the same conspiracy Stephen A. had just tossed into the spotlight. But of course, trolls weren't satisfied with just that clip. As soon as the voice debate caught fire, they dug up that old shirtless pool footage. You know the one. It's been floating around for years, but every single time her name pops back up, it gets recycled like it's brand new scandal material. And just like clockwork, it happened again. On one side, fans rushed to defend her, pointing out the clip has been explained over and over. But on the other side, trolls pushed the same tired narrative all over again. Suddenly, the focus wasn't on her game in Atlanta. It was on her body and voice, as if her skills and career didn't even matter. Here's where it all circles back to Russia, the chapter that threw Brittney Griner's name into global headlines. In 2022, she was busted at Moscow airport for vape cartridges, sentenced to 9 years. And suddenly, the whole world had its eyes on her. Then came the massive prison swap that turned her into one of the most talked about athletes on the planet. But here's the part people conveniently forget. Brittney has already spoken on all of this long before Russia, long before Stephen A. ever tossed her name into the rumor mill. Back in 2015, she sat down for an ESPN feature and opened up about her voice and what it was like growing up with it. She explained how her voice has always been deeper than most girls her age, and how that made her hate the way she sounded. She said kids would mock her for being tall, for developing differently, and for sounding like a boy. That wasn't some conspiracy. That was her truth. And you can feel the weight of it if you actually read or listened to her old interviews. Brittney admitted that the teasing cut so deep, she sometimes avoided talking in certain settings because she didn't want to hear the jokes. Imagine being 6'9" and still silenced by people clowning your voice. It followed her everywhere. Fast forward almost a decade later, and here we are in 2024. Nothing's really changed. Brittney dropped her memoir Coming Home, where she dug even deeper into those painful experiences. She wrote about what it felt like growing up in a body the world refused to just let her exist in, every move questioned, every detail dissected. And now, after everything she's endured, the same old voices are dragging her name through the mud again. She wrote about being mocked for everything: her height, her chest, and yes, her voice. She revealed kids used to tell her she sounded like a grown man before she even reached high school. And that's what makes this whole Stephen A. moment so vicious. Because when he casually tosses out talk of a DNA test, he's not just stirring drama about some random athlete. He's ripping open the exact wound Brittney has been brave enough to share in her own words for years. And now, Cathy Engelbert has nowhere left to hide. She's the face of the WNBA, the commissioner who's been hyping this season as the league's official breakout year. She's been pushing expansion, cashing in on sponsorships, celebrating record-breaking ticket sales, and pitching the WNBA as the future of women's sports. But with Stephen A's little bombshell, the spotlight isn't on the Golden State Valkyries' big debut, or Caitlin Clark smashing ratings records. It's locked on Brittney Griner's body and a recycled rumor that refuses to die. The real question isn't if the league responds. It's what happens if they keep playing silent. Because 2025 was supposed to be the year the WNBA finally leveled up, the year the narrative shifted from struggling league to the hottest show in sports. But with Brittney Griner dragged back into the storm, again, the league's biggest moment might just get hijacked by the very controversy Cathy Engelbert prayed would never resurface. Like, comment, subscribe, and trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. See you in the next one.